My ride back from work on June 3rd, 2017 was not your typical commute. I was in the back seat of a white pickup truck with temperatures outside edging up to 115 degrees. The roof of our car was painted with a humanitarian symbol so that we wouldn't be hit by an airstrike. That summer, I was an aid worker in northern Iraq during the final stages of the operation against ISIS in Mosul. After a 10-hour day in the field, covered in dust, all I wanted was to get home and take a cold shower. But the day wasn't over yet. As my colleagues and I made our way home, we started hearing reports that neighborhoods in Mosul were filling with poisonous gas. Twitter was lighting up with these cell phone images showing aircraft firing white sprays of smoke into the city. It was quickly identified as white phosphorus, used by the US-led coalition and the Iraqi army. White phosphorus can be used legitimately in war as a smokescreen to obscure military movements. But when humans come into contact with it, it can also burn flesh off of the bone. So depending on how it's used, it can either be a totally legitimate tactic of war or a war crime. And sometimes it's nearly impossible to tell the difference. My colleagues began to argue. Should we demand an international outcry for the coalition's use of chemicals in a densely populated city? Or given that it's a gray area, should we focus energy on other problems? It was a judgment call, a decision made by a handful of well-meaning humanitarians. We decided not to push it. I was left confused by the whole incident. How could something as weighty as a war crime be so slippery, so hard to pin down? Back in the States, I began studying war crimes, and I quickly learned that there's no clear answer. And the technology of war is evolving so quickly, the question is only becoming more urgent. The concept of war crimes originates in the earliest eras of human history. Ancient codes of war from China, India, and Greece regulated troops' conduct. Today, the laws of war provide guidance on who qualifies as combatants, the limits of the battlefield, and what sorts of acts are permissible. Troops must wear uniforms, they should avoid civilians, they can't torture prisoners, things like that. When you think about it, it's actually kind of bizarre. Acts that would ordinarily land you in jail, like taking someone's life or destroying a building, are totally legal if you're at war. But even in war, there's a category of actions that humanity has decided is beyond the pale. And those we call war crimes. We even have tribunals that attempt to bring perpetrators to justice, like following the Rwandan genocide or ethnic cleansing in the Balkans. To me, there's something profound about humans attempting to bring integrity and ethics into battle. But in practice, it's not so easy to draw the line, partially because war is really messy and chaotic, but also because it turns out there is no clear universal definition of a war crime. Ask any international lawyer and you'll get this circular answer. A war crime is a serious violation of the laws of war. What's a serious violation of the laws of war? A war crime. As a result, historically, courts have sometimes struggled to decide, is terrorism a war crime? Is rape? Is recruiting child soldiers? If it seems confusing now, it's about to get a whole lot worse. Technology being developed right here in Silicon Valley, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, drones, is the same technology that will dictate the future of war. And it's evolving so rapidly, it's already outpaced the law. We're headed for a legal black hole where anything goes. In particular, technology is complicating the three areas where law used to provide clarity. Who are the combatants? Where is the battlefield? And what are the harms? First, who are the combatants? Picture a fully autonomous AI-powered weapon system. To be clear, this doesn't exist yet, but it's not inconceivable. It's been pre-programmed to strike enemy targets without human intervention. It may actually be more precise and accurate, less prone to error. But it's imperfect, and let's say it somehow commits a horrendous act, like targeting a hospital instead of a military base. Who can we hold responsible? Technology creates a massive accountability gap. War crimes are committed by combatants. But are computer programmers and manufacturers combatants? Unless it could be proven that they were somehow aware of a defect, they're simply too far removed from the crime. And would it even be fair to charge an engineer in Palo Alto with war crimes committed halfway around the globe? Second, where is the battlefield? Imagine a nuclear explosion in space creates an electromagnetic pulse that reaches Earth's atmosphere, causing aircraft to fall from the sky. Or imagine a cyber attack launched from a suburban living room that wipes out a power grid in another country. The law of war tries to keep destruction on the battlefield, but there's no standalone regulation of warfare in space, and there's no consensus on the limits of cyber war. Wars of the future will rarely look like two armies meeting on the battlefield. War will be fought from remote locations, and it will be carried out in outer space and in digital space. And third, what are the harms? The law of war usually conceives of harm in terms of physical damage, violence, bloodshed, destruction. But new weapons will cause different harms, like environmental damage. Imagine a weapon leaves behind toxic remnants that slowly destroys farmland, leaving it inhospitable. Or imagine a cyber attack that destroys information, medical records, financial data. We haven't yet decided if those sorts of harms should be off-limit in war. Does a war crime require physical pain, physical destruction? These questions are not easily answered. The law of war was created before artificial intelligence, even before the internet. We're retrofitting rules from the 19th and 20th century to a new world. And frankly, these are questions that no one wants to think about. The latest version of the United States official guidelines on autonomous weapons is no more than a couple-page PDF document with track changes left on. That's terrifying. Some say it's not worth establishing legal guidelines if you're not sure that we can hold people accountable anyway. Some say that regulation will stifle innovation. I say it's a cop-out. I don't have all the answers, but my instinct is that war is and should remain a uniquely human endeavor. There should be meaningful human control over life and death decisions. For sure, technology can do a lot to improve defense and reduce risk for service members and civilians. But we can never fully delegate moral agency to a machine, and we should resist the temptation to try. At Stanford, we're tasked with thinking up the unimaginable, the new business idea, the moonshot invention. The sobering side of that mandate is the duty to also consider the harms. What the adverse actor might do if given a chance, or the well-meaning actor who simply has no legal guidance. This isn't limited to warfare. Ethics should be a central component of all technology design, not an afterthought. The mere act of writing down standards helps to build a consensus on what's acceptable and what isn't. We can't trust that existing law has all of the answers. As is clear with war crimes, it may have very few. War is a tragic reality, but the decisions we make today can ensure that it is constrained to the battlefield and the soldiers who fight on it. Thank you.